Welcome to Home and Away, our World Cup special episode, just before the kick-off of the World Cup. Myself and Glenn are joined by Hamish, one of our regular contributors. So we're looking forward to going through some of the early group stage matches and maybe some that are particularly of interest to us as Spurs supporters. So we'll look at the ones where we've got players playing and pick out some of the news that's happening around the World Cup. Given we've only got a few games to go, there's a lot in the news at the moment, not all of it positive. So we'll be looking at that. So let's get into it.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day, home and away.
Glenn, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm channeling my inner 1990, as you can see, which we're covering in a moment. The three of us, I think, are going to share our earliest World Cup memories. But I'm good, mate. It's blowing an absolute gale here, but no, I'm broadly okay. How are you, Graeme?
I'm good. It's been a bit hit and miss here weather-wise. So we've had quite a lot of rain this week. So
Yeah, sounds like summer.
May was the warmest on record. June, not so much. So never mind. I was just saying, with your 90s shirt, 90 was my first drunken World Cup.
Well, we can speak of drunken. I gave Graeme Hamish a bit of a drunken phone call on Sunday night because it was a bank holiday here on Monday, and he put a question to me about, have you heard about this Tim Payne New Zealand player, which we'll get into in a minute. But it so happened one of the guys I was out with is a big football fan and is a Kiwi. So I just handed the phone to Mike, and Graeme and Mike had a chat, and I couldn't tell you what they talked about. So
I basically wished him every success getting you home.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, well, look, welcome, Hamish. Thanks for joining, mate. We're doing something a little bit different here in a World Cup special. How are you, Hamish? You keeping well?
I'm good. It's the middle of winter here in Wellington. I'm at work in my work garb today, but I'm looking forward to the World Cup. I'm working from home Friday, just quietly, so I can start watching the first two games in the background. And yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it.
It's been a tricky one, hasn't it? Because I think a lot of the news, which we'll get into, but a lot of the noise, shall we call it, that's surrounding the World Cup is almost making us as football fans feel apologetic for looking forward to the football. And that's what happens when lines are blurred with politics and Infantino and all the bullshit. And it's much like you, Hamish. It's taken me a while to kind of get excited for it. But I'm with you. I'm ready for the football to start now. But there's so much noise surrounding it. But before we get into that, Graeme, as I just shared in my story, you'd messaged me. I didn't know about this, but this Tim Payne story. I don't know if, Graeme, you want to pick it up, and then Hamish, you've got a few anecdotes to add about him as the individual, given that he's a Kiwi. But over to you, Graeme.
So I'm all over social media most of the time. So I saw this crop up, and I think that the story is along the lines of some South American YouTuber went through every single individual player who's going to the World Cup for every squad and found the one with the least number of social media followers. And it was Tim Payne, who is a 32-year-old centre-back who plays for New Zealand.
Wellington Phoenix as well, which is Mike's team, who you spoke to. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, he rounded up everyone he could get his hands on to try and get this guy more followers. And in the space of 2 days, he is in the millions. I think the last count was like he went from 2,400 followers, I think, to like 5.5 million, which is more than the population of New Zealand, which is absolutely nuts. And there's all kinds of like internet memes, like that. I think it's no pain, no gain, and stuff like that. It's just mental. It's one of those. It's a nice story. There's a couple other things as well. There's another. This was a really interesting one though, because it's everywhere on social media. You can imagine once it got going, once it got ahead of steam, it's proper gone viral. So
Hamish, tell us about Tim Payne. You're a Kiwi, mate. You're in New Zealand. So
yeah,
who is he?
Yeah, I'm based in Wellington, where the Wellington Phoenix actually are from. I'll be really upfront. I'm not an A-League fan at all. I don't really follow it. I don't watch games. I don't go to games. I just have a real thing about the officiating and the standard of football. However, when the Tim Payne story broke, my first reaction memory was, okay, in 2020, and I've just looked this up, the Phoenix had to base themselves in Australia because of the whole COVID travel ban and everything, and New Zealand basically locked its gates for probably just about 12 months. He was arrested for drunk driving on a golf cart with somebody else, another player, over in Australia. And that was my, when I heard Tim Payne, I thought, okay, that's that guy. And he got suspended. I'm just reading.
It wasn't Ben Stokes, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was another guy, and he came out with a big apology, and he was embarrassed. But he got breath tested, and it was a positive result, and he was on a golf cart, him and another player, at night time. I don't know if it was after a game or it must have been during the week or something, but that was my reaction. And no one seems to have kind of, remembered that. And I was just reading, in 2020, he was a trialist with the Phoenix and somehow managed to get through the trial and actually ended up starting. And he was
by that stage, he was kind of like, he'd have been 20.
Mid-20s, yeah.
Mid-20s, so
yeah,
like
26.
very late.
Yeah. And he'd been at Blackburn Rovers and as a youth. So he's got some, I guess, pedigree as a footballer. But yeah,
so he came through the academy system, or I guess at some point.
They basically crashed the golf cart, and they were staying at the Sydney Academy of Sport, crashed the golf cart and caused some damage to the golf cart and side of a building. So yeah, they went to court, or they could have, I think they have ended up avoiding court. It was kind of at the lower level of drunken driving. But yeah, that was my recall of Tim Payne, the footballer.
Oh,
his
brilliant
first
stuff.
public appearance.
Yeah. Well, of course, the goal is, Graeme, with your social media presence, I hope, one, that you're following him. And if you are, let's make sure we send him this episode and give him a tag and see if we get a little mention. You never know. We probably would have done if we'd done it 2 weeks ago, but we wouldn't have known about him. So.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're small fry for him.
Indeed.
We're just
Yeah,
social media minnows.
Yeah.
On the local, on the main news channels here, when it broke, there were all these social media influencers giving advice that now he'll be able to endorse products and he needs to monetize this and all this sort of thing. And I don't really think he knows what to do. I just don't think
I agree.
He's going to have to employ an agent or some sort of social media influencer to help him with this, because no disrespect, as someone jokingly on another chat group of mine said, if he scores an own goal in the World Cup, he could lose 1 million followers.
Yeah.
A million, yeah.
You
get 1 million death threats.
So New Zealand are some of my greatest pub trivia for World Cup football. In the only team at the 2010 World Cup to go undefeated was New Zealand, because Spain
didn't they qualify for the knockout stage with no points?
They didn't. They had 3 draws. So
that's what I mean.
Draws.
But they didn't score any goals or something. It was something weird, wasn't it? Or
No, they drew 1-1 with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it might have been Slovakia or Slovenia, one of those two. They
qualified with 3 draws.
Yeah, but any like a lot of people, if you're a bit of a football nerd like I am, and a few others, but when you ask the question, people will all make Spain, but it's not, because Spain lost to Switzerland in their first game. So, and then of course went on to win the World Cup. So
the only New Zealand player I can think of in recent times is Ryan Nelsen, right?
Who Spurs? We had him. Spurs.
It was one of the players that we ended up buying when Harry wanted far better players.
Yeah,
as I recall.
Well, we were third in the league, and that's when we went and brought Louis Sarr, Ryan Nelsen, and somebody else I'm forgetting.
Fraser Campbell.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
But, so, for bringing it back around to New Zealand then, Hamish, the All Whites as they're affectionately known, like, tell us about your viewing experiences in New Zealand, because you've got 2 hours on me. So my kickoff times, for once, really aren't that bad across this tournament. There's a few shitty ones, but for the most part, I'd say there's a lot of games that are actually at a reasonable hour. So for you, even better, right? And New Zealand kickoff, and are you watching at home, or is there a family connection with watching the games, or how will you enjoy the World Cup, my friend?
Yeah, good point. So the broadcast rights were bought by TVNZ, which is the equivalent of the BBC in many ways. And they've dabbled in sport a little bit. They have NFL games. They've had some other sports around, but this is the first time they've charged for it. And they've charged 45 New Zealand dollars, which is the equivalent of probably about £20 for the whole tournament. And it's all streaming. They've got a reasonably good app. I stream everything on TV as well. But the game times are perfect for New Zealand. Like this like Friday, the first game kicks off at 7 in the morning, and then the next game that day is like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I just looked at the schedule on Sunday here, our time. There's 4 games from 7 in the morning, finishing about 5 o'clock at night. So it's basically a whole day of football. So the timings are really, really good. A lot of people have, well, you're always going to get moaners have kicked off about the pricing and how a national broadcaster shouldn't be charging for sports. But I
They have to pay for it, right? So
I think it's a bargain. And obviously TVNZ, I assume FIFA sell the rights, have done a pretty good deal for like £20 equivalent of 104 games.
Yeah, nice. It's funny. As I said earlier, it's trying to park all the noise and trying to get into the spirit. And Sunday here, so we've got games 5 a.m., 8 a.m., 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. And I'm doing similar. I'm hosting probably 20 or so blokes. Gonna have a bit of food and just watch all. I'm just like open door, arrive when you want to arrive. And then it's the Australia game at 2 p.m. So most are coming for that. So yeah, and then Graeme, for a change, you're going to have some painful kickoff times.
There's
right?
some shitty kickoff times here.
Welcome to the pain, my friend. Welcome.
And actually, I can't even tell you how many problems that's causing me at work either. Given that, like, we look after TV platforms for a number of customers, having games in Europe that kick off at like 3 in the morning is a problem, because there's stuff that goes on at night in our TV networks that ideally you wouldn't have all of your people set up watching a match.
So you're trying to do like patches and upgrades, and then
we've got absolute freeze on change during the World Cup, but we will have people sat around hoping that nothing happens. But it's going to be a busy time for my guys. But I think the most of the games are. So I think the earliest kickoffs are like 5 p.m. for us. And I'm assuming they're East Coast games. Let's have a look. Or Mexico, maybe.
It'd be like 9 East Coast or whatever. Because I think the England games for you are 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. in the group stage.
Yeah, they are. I've got a list. I've got it all in UTC just to make it easier for myself, because I knew that we'd have at least three sets of time zones on this. But so there is a mixture. Anything from the earliest one for me will be 5. The latest one will be 3 a.m.
Yeah,
so it's a massive sweep, isn't it?
Yeah, because such a huge continent.
And I guess I don't know if it'll get any easier. I'm assuming the matches will become slightly more normalized. And I also think maybe I don't know whether they will. I don't know if the locations for the knockout stages are picked in advance. So like, do they already know that two teams? So, which means that you could still end up with England can end up playing at 3 a.m. Against someone, or so
there's some tricky.
It's going to be weird.
I think a potential last 16 game for England could be Mexico in Mexico City.
And that stadium is special, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and I know that game kicks off for me 10 a.m. local, so that's 1 a.m. in England. Yeah,
that's the largest stadium, isn't it? In that's hosting.
Mate, I wish that Mexico had so much more than they do, because they're an actual. They've got football heritage. They've hosted it before. They're fanatical fans. Like, it's kind of a shame. I'm glad the opener is there, but I would love for more games to have been there.
Yeah,
I think it's Monterrey, Guadalajara, and Mexico City are the venues there, and they're great football people, right? So I kind of wish that there was more there. But look, I think we could probably pick any number of stories on the noise, as I'm calling it, and the bad, but I think I'll start with the pretty appalling treatment of the Somalian referee who has been sent home, which is just...
So he misses his opportunity to referee in the biggest tournament in the world.
Yeah. I mean,
probably the pinnacle of his career.
Yeah. And I was just reading the BBC article about it, and the immigration are just really saying very, very little. And it's just...
He's not the only one, right? He's just the only one that I know of that's been sent home so far.
Yeah.
So there's been the Iran manager has been rejected. He can't go to the US. There's players that have spent 8 hours in custody at the airport. Players like this. Surely, when a tournament like this, surely all of this kind of like pre-stuff gets done in advance, right? You're not telling me like when the World Cup's been in Qatar, I guarantee you a plane full of footballers turn up and everything's done in advance and they just walk in and get in a
Qatar and
car and go to.
Russia were who would have thought it, right? Those two had their controversies, but who would have thought that America would be way worse? And you're quite right. Like Qatar and Russia, they had even Russia froze visas for people coming as a fan. If you had a valid passport and a match ticket, you could come in. Hamish, what do you make of it all, mate?
Well, New Zealand are in Iran's group.
Yes.
So it's been public news that the Iran team and management have to fly in, play in the States, then fly out each day.
Same day for the game, which is crazy.
The game. Now, everyone's going, this is going to be advantage for New Zealand, but Iran have been in multiple World Cups. They were in
They're experienced, aren't they?
So they know what to do. And New Zealand at 2,500 to 1 to win it, I don't think it'll make a lot of difference, to be honest. I expect Iran.
If I recall, Iran did quite well in Qatar, didn't they?
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
They qualified for the knockout stages.
Yeah. So the whole controversy, you're right, in it.
It's disgusting, isn't it?
I've been watching some of the previous World Cups, Russia and Qatar, and some of the drama around the whole, One Love armband that England players want.
Yeah.
This is nothing. I mean, that was nothing compared to what is happening here, but you'd sort of like to think it normalises itself a little bit once it starts and we forget about that. But I don't know. The Iran game being held in the States versus New Zealand is, from a global kind of viewpoint, is going to get a lot of eyes on it, I'd imagine.
I did see that there's an opportunity if Iran finish second in their group and the USA finish second in their group, they will play each other in Chicago.
Dear.
I mean, the irony that 99% of the world will want Iran to win that match is not lost on me. It's insane, isn't it?
Well, there's another kind of point of just irony and just stupidity from FIFA, as you just touched on it, Hamish. In Qatar, they had this whole hoopla about the One Love armband and how homosexuality is illegal in Qatar, and they can't support this, and it will be an immediate booking, etc., etc. You cannot make it up. Iran are due to play Egypt in Seattle, and they are labelling that the game of the World Cup, and homosexuality is illegal in both of those countries. I mean, you cannot make it up. It's like the hypocrisy is just absolutely incredible.
There's so much negativity. It's hard. There's a couple of good news stories. Tim Payne was the one that was a bit of fun, but it's not. But there's a guy called Craig Ferguson, who's a Scotland supporter, who's been walking from LA to Chicago for Scotland's first game for charity. So like he's done, I don't know, God, he's raised over £100,000, I think. But the one that was really funny, I don't know where he was, but he's on his route. He met the American, he's Scottish, but the TV presenter Craig Ferguson.
Oh,
so Craig Ferguson meets Craig Ferguson.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So good. So good.
So yeah.
I was just looking up something about Simon Jordan last night. I don't know if you've heard that, about the Somalian referee being banned. His first comment was, have you seen it, the actual standard of African referees? That was his first comment. And then he's caused quite a big backlash. Sorry, I was looking at my phone there.
No.
A lot of fans have actually, he said basically the guy didn't meet the vetting requirements. So USA are quite within their rights to
But
to
that
do that.
shouldn't be the week of the fucking tournament, should it?
Yeah, I
It's
know.
insane.
The
I know.
vetting requirements probably haven't changed from when he was.
He was
told
probably
gonna
chosen
have this
6
gig.
months ago.
Correct. Like,
So yeah,
yeah, and to a degree, like if he has failed the vetting process and immigration, fine. But to Graham's point, you should fucking know this. This
well,
isn't
you had to fill out an
right.
ETS, one of those ETSA things, but well in advance.
Oh,
before you go to the-
that's another thing. There are thousands of Scottish supporters who have paid a shit ton of money to get there for tickets, for hotels and everything. And their Esters were cancelled the week before the tournament and
Yes.
nobody knew about it. No one told them. So like they've turned up and they've been turned away.
Absolute shocker, isn't it? Absolute shocker.
Yeah.
But to Hamish's point, it's almost like you feel a bit dirty, but once the football starts, I will probably be more excited. But again, it comes with this tainted. I mean, Infantino and FIFA and Trump coming together like this is the worst possible storm.
It's the axis of evil.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's just an absolute shocker. But
Trump will attend some games, and I'm not sure if I follow the NBA, and I was watching yesterday.
Oh, I saw it.
I saw that. Yeah.
He attended the game. It took 2 hours to get into Madison Square Garden because of all the security. Now, you think of what that's going to be like if he decides to attend a USA game. That their fans that don't turn up late, but turn up with an hour to spend or half an hour to spare or half an hour, and they're going to get caught up and maybe miss the game. And I'm assuming that could be a story as well.
Yeah. I think as well, if he's getting booed at an NBA final, imagine what he's going to get booed like by the foreign supporters. And also it won't just be booing. I think you'll find that some like the Scottish and the English fans are quite creative when it comes to chanting. So that could get it could get quite interesting. That's none of this. USA. It will be.
It's funny because for all the noise around cost of tickets and all of that, we haven't even touched on that. But I saw something on social media for the England versus New Zealand game, the friendly. But there's been quite a large contingent of England fans seem to be present, and a few were interviewed. And there's over apparently 10, 15,000 that are there, which is great news because that's what makes the World Cup, right, is the atmosphere. And it's just a pity that so many of these African teams won't have their fans behind them
At all.
Can't get into the country. And that's what, I remember when England, I was 8, so it's more like I remember the tournament when we were wearing this kit. But then I remember probably from more watching documentaries and reruns of the games. But the Cameroonians, right, all of the colour and the noise that their fans brought, and just an amazing story, like how well they did, and they got to the quarterfinal, and they probably should have beaten us, in that quarterfinal. And that's just what's getting lost here. Like, this is not the world's game. It seems to be the rich American.
It's literally the worst possible country to host, and maybe in an alternate universe where he's not the president. Like, if this had happened 4 years ago, this would have gone off probably without any hitches, because it wouldn't have been so that just the whole world has been disrupted by this current.
What's the build up, Graeme?
Leadership.
Like, there's one time I really like being back in England, and that is usually for major tournaments because there is a vibe and it's fun, especially when England are going deep and doing well. What's the vibe like at home, mate? Is it like half and half? Are people excited? Like, have you got?
I think there'll be. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, if you did you watch the England New Zealand game?
No, well, I watched the highlights.
If that's what we're going to offer up, we won't be there for very long.
Yeah.
It wasn't great, and I know we mix and match, and we even don't understand. We took players.
And then and then they played
to
in the
Miami,
friendly,
who aren't even in the squad, just to make
bizarre.
up the. I think it's because of all the Arsenal players were given extra days off or something, and they were. But can you imagine, like, oh, you're not in the squad, but do you want to come to Miami for a kickabout?
Strange,
It's like
I opted not to watch that friendly. Mainly, it was early
sound
kickoff
choice.
And it was. I looked, and it was like 34 degrees and 100,000,000% humidity with lots of changes.
Typical Florida weather.
I think this is going to be quite a boring game, so I didn't bother. But I mean, it's a tricky one. Isn't it?
The only positives is a Jed Spence assist for a Harry Kane header.
Yeah. Well, and it's a funny one with England as well, right? Because we're going into this tournament 60 years since we last won it, and we're managed by a German. Who would have made it up?
And the year ends in 6.
Yeah, and the year ends in 6. So we'll see.
Yeah,
but
I did watch that game, and New Zealand play a low block. So I'm not saying they're going to be hard to beat, but when you're coming up against a team that plays a low block, and England, no disrespect, traditionally do struggle against those sort of teams.
Oh yeah,
and that was just, to be honest, I think England should have won that game 3 or 4-0 with the amount of chances they had. They just couldn't put them away. I knew that. I just had this feeling. I said to someone in a chat before the game, New Zealand will lose this, not by much, but we'll take it as a victory, and that's what they've done. They've kind of taken it. Oh, hey, we only lost 1-0 to England, so this is looking good, but. I can't see New Zealand even drawing a game.
One big positive I take from an England perspective is Harry Kane looks absolutely sharp. He looks fit, he's fresh. And there's something to be said for the German way of doing things in their Bundesliga, right? Because he got a bit of a break. He's been managed really well.
Exhausted or half broken, or he's recovering from an injury that he got late in the season or something. Yeah.
So there's going to be this. I think they're going to use him. Tuchel's going to use him as when he's dropping deep, and he's going to have willing runners in probably Rashford and Anthony Gordon, and
there's still people complaining about him dropping deep over here. I'm like, he's like, I just don't understand. People don't see that he's like two players in one. I'm surprised sometimes he doesn't set himself up.
His range of passing is akin to Gascoigne in his pomp, in terms of he can pick a pass.
Or Hoddle sometimes.
Yeah, Hoddle, Gascoigne,
his vision for a pass is incredible.
Yeah, people that can pick a pass, like Kane is as good as any of them, So I don't know how I feel about England's chances overall. I feel like with the squad that he's picked, he's come out and said it, like it's a team, not individuals. And we've been picking individuals for many years and not won anything. So let's see what happens. I don't know. Jury's out. I think the heat could be a big factor for us and every team. But I don't know. We're obviously, you would hope, get out of the bloody group and then onwards and see what comes. But I'm quietly confident that we should do well. I mean, our tournament form has been good. We've been in 2 finals, a semi-final, a quarter-final, but it's a tournament without Mr. Southgate. So let's see. Let's see if he was as poor as everybody suggested in terms of when it mattered. Like, I'm hoping that we're in a tight semi-final or a quarter-final, and Tuchel makes a tweak and a change, and it gets us over the line, because that was something that Southgate never really did.
Yeah. I'm more invested in the England games than the New Zealand games.
I was going to say, your daughter's in England, isn't she, Hamish?
Yeah, she's in. Yeah. And she's going, God, the pups will be crazy. But I'm surprised at some of the players that Tuchel has picked when he's talking about a team game, when he's got Jude Bellingham, who to me is one, Rashford, who are quite individualistic sort of players and don't seem like team guys at all.
Yeah.
Yet he kept at home Harry Maguire, who I think is probably one of the team players in terms of that sort of thing. Maybe his form didn't warrant
and we're
him.
not blessed with that many good centre-backs that I wouldn't have not taken him for his experience, if not nothing else.
Yeah. But it's weird, the whole Bellingham thing, because remember there was the whole drama, was it 6 to 9 months ago, when his mother seemed to get involved with some not being selected or something, and Tuchel sort of had to have a talk to him or something about his attitude. Yet next thing, he's in the team. And
I think, to your point, Hamish, I think Bellingham is an absolute maverick. He's
Billy Big Bollocks, isn't he?
He is, but for me, he's got that ability, and I go back to the Slovakia game in Euro 2024, where we were out. We were down and out. It was literally the last kick, and he pulls out of the bag an overhead kick to level it up and take us for extra time. That's what he can deliver. Now, remains to be seen if he delivers that from a starting position or if he's using a different way. Like, I was a bit surprised, and people may lambast me and say he's not been good enough, but I thought Foden was deserving of a spot in that squad, because he's the only English player, I feel, that can play a natural false 9. And I don't think we've got anyone to replace Kane, really. You've got Watkins, and Ivan Toney's gone. I would have taken Foden, because he can play left, right, central. He can play as a false 9. He can be utilised in a few different ways. So,
isn't that also his issue, though, is that he's not... He can play anywhere, but is he the best player in any of those positions?
And that's probably what Tuchel's looked at, right? He loves Morgan Rogers. So let's see what happens. And our first game, I think we're one of the last to play our first game.
It's next week. Our
Against
first
Croatia.
game is the 17th.
But with a nod to Spurs, we will get a close-up look at Vuskovic, because
so we can go. We can go through. Let's go through the first week's matches, and we can look at look at ones where we think that there's this of interest. So we've obviously got the first game will be Mexico South Africa in Mexico City. So that's for me it's a 2 a.m. kickoff. It's like it's not a great start to the World Cup.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that as well, but I'm not sure I'm going to stay up till 2 a.m. to watch that. Then Sonny plays on Friday against Czech Republic.
And he's their captain, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In Estadio Akron, so I'm assuming that's one of the Mexican stadiums, right?
So, yeah.
Yeah. Then Canada against Bosnia and Herzegovina in Toronto. USA Paraguay. It's USA's first match in LA.
We do have a connection with USA, of course, with Pochettino. So I'll be interested.
Well, also you're an American.
I am. I've got an American passport, so let's see if I have to exercise the right of if England shit the bed, maybe America will be the who.
You'll be sat there with one shirt under the other one. And you
Yeah,
can take
exactly.
it off.
I might get my daughter loves to sew. I might get her to do me a half and half
Oh
one.
God, I don't do half and half
I
anything.
won't do that.
It's my worst nightmare. So that's quite interesting. So you're even as a household, you're split.
Well, and of course, Australia play America as well in this World Cup. So
Yeah, so that'll be good for you. And then probably the first home nations match is on the 14th, which is Haiti-Scotland.
Andy Robertson, new
With
player.
Andy Robertson captaining Scotland as well. So that'd be a good one. That's
What do we think of that signing, by the way? What do we think of Andy Robertson?
I think it's a really sound investment in a player who has won everything, is a leader, has a winning mentality. And I think that there are times last season where we could have done with more people like him in the squad. So I feel like the people he's picking are that. They're like people with their mentality people. He seems to be picking people with the right mentality. Is he the best? Is he at his best? No, he's probably not. He's probably 2 or 3 years past his best. But I still think he's... I guess the question is, will he be available for more games than Udogie? Probably, because Udogie seems to be made out of rice paper.
Yeah. I think it's a good bit of business. And I hope he gets through the World Cup unscathed and doesn't get injured.
Yeah.
And then, of course, looking ahead, we've got Mickey van der Ven will be playing against Japan. So there's an interest there.
That'll be quite a tough game. Japan are not...
Oh, they're a good team. Yeah, they're a good team. And then Bergvall, Sweden.
That's a tough game. Sweden, Tunisia as well.
Yeah. And then as you touched on it, Hamish, I was surprised as well, this name in the Spain squad, Pedro Porro. I don't think he's had a very good season at all. So I don't see how I'm right. But if he features, which you expect, but they're playing Cape Verde. So you'd expect Spain to win that.
It's basically a rock in the Atlantic, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the other one that's interesting, which we skipped a little bit, is Germany Curaçao, which is it's basically Germany against a tiny place the size of a small town in Germany.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And Rodrigo Bentancur, of course, will be playing for Uruguay against Saudi, which would be you'd expect he'd be starting, and then Papamata Sarr, he starts for Senegal, doesn't he? Sarr.
He's been a bit hit and miss. He didn't start the African nation game, so I'm not sure whether that's changed in the build up to this tournament. But
yeah, and then
he's a good age for them, right? And he's been quite young, but now he's kind of experienced, I would say.
And then the last kind of three rounds, obviously Romero, Argentina against Algeria, Danso, Austria, Jordan, and then our very own Jed Spence against Croatia, and then Vuskovic for Croatia.
I've seen a couple of highlight videos of Vuskovic in the two. They played Belgium, and I forget the other team was, but he looked decent.
Yeah.
I mean, for a youngster,
because Spurs have bought. So they're linked with the Brighton centre back.
Van Heck. Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently we've got
Senesi we bought
as
well.
Centre back. The Bournemouth, Senesi.
Yeah.
They're saying, will he actually come back to Spurs? Like, is there going to be a place for him in the team?
There's talk, isn't there, that Vuskovic might end up another loan because he's really enjoying it at Hamburg because his brother's there. Yeah. And I think that's been quite.
And he hasn't been able to play with him because he's banned for failing a drugs test.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to. It doesn't sound like a great role model.
Yeah, no, indeed. Let's see what happens there if he does get a place in the squad. But look, I guess we've covered a fair bit, but something we haven't done yet. Maybe we should have started with this. But Hamish, what was your earliest World Cup memory? I mean, in terms of like obviously being a Kiwi and the time difference to Europe and all that. Like, what was your earliest memory you can recall, mate, from a World Cup?
So there was no such thing as Sky TV or any sort of overseas sport in the 80s. When I first finished university, I basically went straight to London. It was 1990. So that was my first exposure to the 1990 World Cup, the whole Gaza hype. Yeah. And being a Spurs fan, the whole Gaza thing was cool.
Yeah.
But I was actually travelling a little bit around Europe at that time and trying to catch games in local bars and things like that. But one thing I do remember is I'd never really heard of Paul Parker.
Yeah.
And he had a storming World Cup.
Yeah, he did.
And then he sort of disappeared a little bit, to be honest. I don't think he did he start, he was at QPR, wasn't he?
QPR, Man United.
Yeah.
I've got I've
Yeah, I
got a funny
remember.
story about Paul Parker. So I
Yeah,
went
and that was
to
my
the-
memory of how good he was. No disrespect, he wasn't a world famous name, and
yeah.
from my limited, first division
Compared,
experience.
there was a
Yeah.
lot of. He wasn't a glamour player in that team,
No,
that's for sure.
but that was
I
my first World Cup experience, and I remember the final just being one of the worst games I'd ever seen.
awful.
Yeah.
Bramer, wasn't it? Bramer penalty. So in keeping with the 1990 World Cup, certainly that was my first proper memory of football. And I remember, like, obviously England had Gaza and Lineker, and then I just remember my dad, and it seemed really, really important that we would watch these games. And as the tournament went on, we got better and better. And I remember the semi-final. He put me in the car and he just drove around the town that we lived in, which isn't far from Graham. And there wasn't a car on the street, like driving. The roads were empty. And I remember that because he had to run, I think, to get some more beers or something. I don't know. He probably shouldn't have been driving, to be honest. But I just remember feeling like this seemed really important. And then obviously we didn't beat Germany, and it was a very sad ending. But that's my earliest memory. But coming back to Paul Parker, 2014 World Cup, I travelled out to Brazil and I booked tickets to games basically from the last group game. Little did I know that England would already be eliminated by the time I got there. So I had tickets for England Costa Rica. And me and my mate Neil, we came into the stadium and we kind of asked the steward, like, where do we go for us? He said, I'll just go up that staircase. And I'm walking up the staircase and I'm in the same row as Paul Parker. He was sat watching the game. So I walk up and I go, you assisted Gary Lineker's equaliser against Germany. And I shook his hand and we had a great chat and we were watching it, and he was pretty disgusted with Hodgson and just how the World Cup had gone. And he was a lovely guy, like really, really nice chap. And there's a picture of me somewhere with him. I'll share it with you both after we finish the recording. But yeah, that was my earliest memory, 1990. But Graham, over to you, mate.
So I have my earliest matches that I watched, and I think it's worth mentioning. Like I started watching football as a kid, as a young kid in the 70s, and there was not a lot of televised football at all then. Like if you saw one match a week, you were lucky, and it could be anything, right? It's probably some League One match or something, or you might get lucky and there's an FA Cup week and you'd see an FA Cup game or something. But there was literally a real lack. There was hardly any televised football. You get a highlights reel on Match of the Day, probably be your lot. But of course, when the World Cup comes on, it's always on terrestrial television, so all of the matches are watchable for everybody, or at least all the. I'm not sure if they would show every match back then, but you could definitely see all the home country matches. But in this instance, my first memory is 78, which
We didn't qualify.
in Argentina, which we did qualify for.
Yeah.
And but Scotland did, and I remember watching some of the matches, especially the final, the Netherlands against Argentina. It was a rough old game as well.
Yeah.
The Argentinians just kicked them all over the place, but it was a real so I recall that, and of course that summer was particularly important as Spurs fans, was because off the back of that, and it was like world news that we signed two of the World Cup winning side from Argentina in Ricky Villa and Ozzy Ardiles, and I guess that really is what kind of lit my enthusiasm for following Tottenham. I mean, I've got family who've always been Tottenham, but it really got me back into watching and caring about it, and got my granddad to take me to see games, and so that was kind of it. And then, but I'll skip forward a few to 1990. Two things I recall about that World Cup. The first one is I just started working at BT. I was working in London, and I was like the youngest person there by about 10 years. So most of these are middle-aged men. We're talking about previous World Cups, and do you remember in '86? And then one of them said, do you remember in 1970 when Bobby Moore got arrested for shoplifting? And I'm like, no. They said, why not? Because I wasn't born. They were not happy. So as I think I mentioned, it was my first alcohol-fueled World Cup. So I was 18, 19 at the time, 19. And I was living in Cheshunt, so close to the Tottenham training ground. And we were going out in Cheshunt to watch the matches in the pubs. And it got quite rowdy, as in one of the pubs we went in, the air conditioning got pulled out of the ceiling. It was like, it was bad, right? And what I recall is that that Italy had played a group match earlier than we did. It was like one of the first matches, and where I lived around Cheshunt, there's a lot of greenhouses. Like a lot they grow a lot of like salad vegetables, and it's all Italian families that own these massive greenhouses. So like there's loads of Italians in the area. So Italy won. So like there's all of these little like Fiats going up and down the high road, getting beep 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 with the Italian flags out the window. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then what I remember is I can't remember which match it was. I think it might have been after the Senegal match. There's like thousands of people in Cheshunt, and someone said, "Let's go down to Waltham Cross and fuck up the Italians." So basically, this army started walking down the street towards Waltham Cross. They hijacked a bus. There was people on the roof of a double-decker bus and in the bus, and like all heading. I'm like, I think, you know what? I think I might give this one a swerve.
Yeah.
But like it was carnage. Like there were, I think we ended up on the news. It was so enthusiastic, shall we say? And then I remember watching the semi-final, and of course we lost. And then I was in Mallorca for the final, and I think I watched it in a bar in Mallorca. But yeah, that was my first adult World Cup, I think.
Yeah,
I think I was. Go ahead, Hamish.
Yeah, I went to France '98, so I was living in England, came back to New Zealand for a couple of years, and then went back and went to France '98 with some mates, and that was another really good World Cup in many ways. England, I was with 3 of my English friends, and we didn't have a lot of tickets, but we ended up going to 9 games. You could buy the tickets.
So much easier then, wasn't it?
Yeah. And like we ended up, I remember going into a ballot at New Zealand Football and getting some tickets for Denmark, Nigeria, and Paris, and the new stadium there at the time. And yeah, it's pretty cool to go to a World Cup. I think it's a special time.
I've never been to a World Cup match.
Despite England being eliminated, once we were in Brazil, we actually had a really good time, and it was probably informed by the fact there was no pressure, like we didn't care. You just enjoyed the football. But to your point, Hamish, we got word when we were there. We went to a few games, and then we got word that the city we were in was Brasilia and Portugal playing Ghana. And we got word that you could still go up to the stadium, and they hadn't sold out, and you could still buy a ticket. And I was like, see Ronaldo, like in his prime, it's amazing. Like, and just got the ticket, and they were so reasonably priced. I think I paid $47 USD for like a decent ticket. Like,
mad, isn't it?
Just absolutely.
When you look at what they're charging in the US for,
just
ludicrous. They're charging 150 quid for a train ticket out of New York to New Jersey, aren't they?
Yeah,
it's just maddening. It's absolutely maddening.
I think here, unfortunately, the New Zealand dollar is probably one of the weakest currencies in the world. Even against the Australian dollar, is like 20% less now.
Yeah,
and people start converting, and there was someone in a chat group. I'm in a Spurs fan who was actually over in Florida for the England New Zealand game. It was 31 New Zealand dollars for a beer, for a can, a 440.
Oh yeah, I believe it. Yeah,
and it was $100 US. That was the ticket price for that game for a friendly. So when you convert that to New Zealand dollars, a beer and to get in is $250 before you even
done anything.
You know,
watch the game.
Yeah. Well, I've not got a lot else for this episode, but something I wanted to do is I'm going to put you both on the spot. But I want a winner, a dark horse, and surprise package. I'll start. My winner, I'm actually going to go with Brazil. I think Brazil under Ancelotti, I think they've got the right manager. I think they're overdue, and they've got some wonderful players. My dark horse is Morocco, and my surprise package is Austria. I think they're going to do quite well. Graeme, over to you, mate.
I'd probably pick Argentina to win. Dark horse, Portugal.
Yeah,
they've got it depends if they don't dick about with Ronaldo or not.
Ronaldo, yeah.
But they've got some midfield.
Yeah.
And then surprise package. I don't know. It's a good one. Maybe I'll go South Korea. I think they always make a good showing of themselves.
Yeah, good fist of it. Hamish, over to you.
I'm going all South American teams. So I've already bet on Argentina to win it.
Yep.
I've also bet on Brazil. I kind of put them as because apparently they're not meant to be that good as a dark horse. But my other one as a real outsider will be Uruguay. They're like paying 66-1. They've got Bielsa's their manager. I just think from a climate point of view, it'll be one of those countries that actually does the best.
Yeah.
I just don't think the European team's going to do that well.
The one that no one is mentioning, and because we're not, they're probably doing really well, is Germany, right? No one is mentioning them as a force, but they've got some good players.
Yeah.
So, but it will be, look, let's hope that we can park, as I keep calling it, the noise. Not that it fully goes away. I hope that FIFA and Trump and everybody concerned are held to account one day, because I think it's been disgraceful how many fans, players, officials, coaching, managers have been treated. I think it's disgusting. But let's hope once the football starts, as football fans, we can just enjoy it for what it is, and that is the football. So nothing more from me.
Just one thing I wanted to add, and this is for me is literally the best thing that's happening in this World Cup. You know that they're going to there's going to be music at half time, and they're going to do a 30-minute break at half time in the final, right?
The final.
But both the BBC and ITV are refusing to show it.
And
they will be summarising the match instead, which I think for me is the best thing that's happened in this World Cup.
Imagine this is a scenario. It insert any player, any team. England find their way in a final. They're 1-0 down to France. Right before half time, we get it to 1-1. And then we got to go and sit in the fucking dressing room for half an hour. Are you kidding me? Just everything goes flat. You know, it's like you use all your momentum. Like, it's absolute disgrace. Like,
and one more thing. Sorry. Did you know in the last 20 years, Shakira's been to more World Cups than Italy?
Well, that Italian stat is mental. Like, they have not been in the knockout, let alone they haven't been qualifying, but they haven't made a knockout World Cup game since 2006 when they won it. Crazy stat. Crazy stat. Well, nothing more from me, Graeme. Hamish, thanks so much for joining our first ever World Cup special. And Graeme, over to you to close us out, my friend.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who's listened in. Please like and subscribe so that we can get more viewers to watch this. We'll see you again next week. We'll probably do a review of the matches in the first week, and then we'll preview the next ones, and hopefully be more positive stories to talk about rather than the over-enthusiastic ice and border controls in the US.
Indeed.
So, yeah, thanks a lot.
Personal one from me. Come on, England.
Come on, England. Everyone else who plays well. Thank you.
Let me be